Yep.
How different do you, you're a State Department official, how different do you? You've been in it. You were in it in 2016. How different do you think it'll be in 2024, the way those voters react and the way they did in 2020?
Well, I think the permanent psychic damage will last for centuries if something like that is done. People will always remember it. But there's a lot of things that you can do as kind of a special operation on the martial law side to contain that, and then use the Justice Department to string up all of the leaders, use censorship techniques to crack down all the means of communicating with each other. This is one of the reasons they made such a big issue of Facebook in ahead of 2020, and why they put so much pressure on Mark Zuckerberg ahead of the 2020 elections, because Facebook was what was being used to coordinate IRL meetups, to coordinate rally communities, to coordinate street activity. And this same network descended on Facebook and basically called to not just have Facebook posts taken down, but to have entire Facebook groups. Stop the Steal, for example, was the fastest growing Facebook group in Facebook history. And through the Department of Homeland Security and the Election Integrity Project Network folks and that delegitimization terms of service policy, they got that thing nuked inside of a week.
The rise and fall to Stop the Steal group, in the short lifespan, it was one of the fastest growing groups in Facebook history, and a hub for those trying to delegitimize the word.
Yep.
The election. Can you go a little lower, Rob? How big was this group? I'm actually curious the number of people. Welcome to the button. An hour later, the group uploaded a minute-long video to its Facebook page, pointing a message. The grainy footage showed a crowd outside Bowling Point, straight and shouting, chanting. Okay, perfect. But here's the difference. Here's the 22 hours later was started, had massed 320,000 at one point, gained 100,000.
In less than a day.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the difference. This won't work. The reason why this won't work is because there's something called X. He's in the way. You can't do nothing with him. You can't. You can't go through him. And right now, the other day, Steve Ballmer's being interviewed. You know who Steve Ballmer's going to give his money to? Can you type in Steve Ballmer, who he gives his money to? If you just go on Google, Rob, and see who's Steve Ballmer, Steve Ballmer's friends with who? Bill Gates. Okay?
Developers.
Right. So if you look at which political party he gives his money to, Steve Ballmer, can you see it, Rob, or no? Just type in Steve Ballmer, Democrat or Republican. Steve Ballmer, Democrat or Republican. Okay? So, there's some donations for ownership. Steve Ballmer, Democratic Party, since 2015, $7.9 million donation to the Democratic Party. And you know how much he's given to Republicans? $10,000. Rob, I'm going to give you this. Put it up so people can show. That's the one right there. Good for you. Zoom in. NBA political contributions. Ballmer, $7.9 million Democratic Party, $10,000 to Republican. Dan DeVos, Magic, all Republican. Dan Gilbert, both, but more Republican. You got James Dolan, more Republican. You got Jerry Reinsdorf, even Steven. Spurs, you see what it is. But going to Steve Ballmer, he's the $100 billion guy. He's a $130 billion guy. They asked him the question, where do you get your news from? You know what he said? He said X. Even a guy who's a liberal, who doesn't give money to Republicans, he gets his news from X, right? The only way, like I'm trying to really go and dissect each of these as a reasonable man who's a business guy that's never been in the Department of Defense, but I study games and manipulation and power and war and all this stuff. I'm some of that was used against me in the insurance industry as an outsider that came in and took a big block of insurance business. Like, who the hell you think you are? They try to get me to lose appointments, defamation, all this stuff. I'm like, it's not going to happen. But then I saw the way they did it, and then boom, eventually I sold the business for a few $100 million, and they were not happy about it. But it's too late by that time because we were able to fight through some of the things that they were doing. Good lawyers, good strategy, sequencing, all of that. I don't think, Mike, that playbook is going to work today because Elon's not going to let that happen. Elon is probably just as much hated and feared by them as Trump is because Trump's going to go be a president. He's going to go away 4 years, okay? The Trumpism won't, but he'll go away for 8 to 12 years. Musk is 53. He ain't going away for 30, 40, 50 years, okay? And I'm surprised the fact that there's not any stories that we hear about of assassination attempt on him. My concern is the way to go about this is you got to go after him the next 13 days. If you really want to do something, he's the target because he's in the way. not Trump. If you get him, now you can do some stuff because it's a shit show over there, right?
Well, there's like 13 different regulatory agencies who are all moving against Musk. Just yesterday or just this week, it came out that one of Adam Schiff's, former chairman of the Intelligence Committee, darling organization, the Center for Countering Digital Hate, CCDH, had in its internal playbook kill Musk's Twitter. You have entire State Department, USAID, National Endowment for Democracy programs dedicated to killing Elon Musk's X. You have this EU legislation, the EU Digital Services Act, which is now the regulators have openly said they are going to look to actually tax. That's exactly right.
Looking to tax.
Look that for non-compliance with the EU censorship law, they will go after Musk's other assets, his SpaceX assets, his Tesla assets. Basically, all of Europe is going to do to Elon Musk on steroids what Brazil did initially with the Starlink seizures. All of this has the support of Biden's State Department. This is a crooked operation. I was sort of involved in some of those early negotiations in 2020. This is a very nasty beast. Now, by the way, I'm not arguing that they're going to. I'm not weighing in on the probability of success of these, sort of cloak and dagger operations, but I don't think that they can be totally dismissed out of hand, because how fast the tone of the country can change in a crisis situation. A crisis event happens, and it doesn't have to be an assassination. It could be a riot. It could be a street protest. It could be a news cycle. And then suddenly you get these prime movers. You get the Justice Department to announce some drastic action. You get the military to sort of, cordon off entire blocks of major cities, as they did around January 6th in D.C., and as happened with some of the protest riot situations, both around BLM and around January 6th. And then there starts to become a kind of martial law overtone. In that moment, it is a totally different scenario than looking at it through the sterile glass of a day-to-day civilian news cycle. You can do extraordinary actions to people who are normally untouchable. And all I'm saying is you can't discount that, because these are not small fish who are out there working on this. The Norm Eisen types,
I get that.
The Mark Elias types, the Jamie Raskin types, they're not going to bed at 6 p.m., this week thinking, we're probably going to lose. There's too much on the line.
What do you think? If you're a betting man, if you're in Las Vegas, you're betting. What are you betting on right now happening? What are your odds of what's going to happen November 5th? Is Trump going to win? Is Kamala going to win? Where are you at?
I was confident in 2016. I did bet on that significantly. I did not bet on 2020 because I thought the fog of war was too thick. And I'm not betting with my money, on 2024, because I think the fog of war is too thick. But I'm betting with my soul, in the sense that it's my, I think that this is probably the most important election in U.S. history.
So the way I process what you just said is, you don't think he's going to win. You're at a place that you don't think not he's going to win. Let me restate the words. You don't think they're going to let him win.
I think if it was a fair fight, he would win in a landslide. But the fight is not fair. But just how unfair it is still unclear. Hi, this is Mike Benz. You can connect with me on Connect for any questions that you have on internet censorship, foreign policy, national security, the blob, or if you want to know what a particular institution is doing that you may have seen or have questions about in terms of its control over the information ecosystem. So connect with me on Connect.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.